Yo, what's up, Creepers and Geekers? Chris, the Atari Creep going handheld. I promise it won't be that way for the whole video. So, I've spent my fair share of time with this bad mamma jamma, and I feel that I know her well enough to give you a full in-depth review. Now, with that said, this is going to be a full in-depth review. I don't normally do reviews because I tend to have a lot to say about things, and if you followed me for any amount of time, you know I just blah, 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 blah. So if that's not the type of review that you like, this isn't the video for you, go ahead and click off. However, if you just want to hear my final thoughts, fast forward to the end. Either way, I hope you get something out of this, and I hope I do it justice. And I guess here we go. All right. Well, first let's look at its anatomy, so to speak. Yes, I am going to talk about everything that's on here. Again, I told you this was going to be somewhat in depth. Here's your D-pad, obviously, and hey, look at that. You can see how cheap my setup is. I wasn't kidding when I said I do this gorilla style. It's a really good D-pad. It feels nice. It functions very well. It's got these little raised areas in the right spots. I'm very impressed with it. This button right here gets you back to your main menu. These buttons over here, when I first saw this thing, I was like, why? It's an Atari. Why would you need all those buttons? But you know what? It's actually pretty clever what they did here. I'm not really a big fan of the placement, but it works. These buttons all function pretty much as the switches on the face of the console. So again, let's go over that. This top one here is your reset or start. That would be the switch all the way to the right on the console. S right here is select your game. Multiple Atari games have multiple versions within, different difficulties, different whatever. Space Invaders is a great example of that. So this is what you would do to select which game you wanted to play. L and R, these are your difficulty switches. On the face of the consoles, the two switches closest to the cartridge port, or on the back, depending on what console model you have. You have A and B or Expert Novice, depending, again, on the console you have. And that's what these are, A and B, or Expert Novice. Down here, your T. This is TV type. When the VCS was out, people still prominently had black and white TVs. So they put in this feature so you can select that you had a black and white or you had a color. What's weird about this is, and I'm pretty sure they had to have it on there only to make the emulation work, I guess. I don't know how that really truly works, but when you do hit this, a lot of the games will go into a black and white mode, which is actually more blues and grays, and then it'll say mono on the bottom, but once you release it, it goes right back to color. So I guess it's just kind of a necessary evil that's there, and it's kind of fun to go black and white color, but whatever. Orange, it says A, that's your action button, or some people like to call it the fire button. That's when you're doing whatever you're doing, shooting or jumping. That's it. That's Atari for you. Directions, action, have a nice day. On the top here, we have an LED or a little light bulb here to indicate that it's on. It's very dim when it's on, but it's also a charging indicator. You have a port for the cable that goes into the TV. It's a mono cable. Mine happen to come with it. I know a lot of them don't, but it's readily available. This is your port for charging. It's a mini USB. One thing I do have a question about, and I'm going to try to figure this out soon. I don't know if information can be transferred through this. It's my understanding it's charge only. I don't have an SD card reader on my computer. I don't know why, but long story short, I haven't done the SD thing yet. But it doesn't matter because we're not going to be talking about that. We're talking about this out of the box. I am going to slap an SD card in here and see if I can't just transfer all the stuff through here. If not, I'll be able to get it done. Don't worry about it. Of course, this is your SD card reader or slot, whatever you want to call it. This is your volume knob or wheel, if you want to call it that. On the bottom, we have a headphone jack, and we have a power button on and off. And the back, just a couple screws, a sticker saying, hey, dig this thing. And you'll notice it's sealed. You don't have to put batteries in it. It's a rechargeable battery, and I really think that's an excellent feature. So that is the anatomy of this console. So I wasn't really sure what next to talk about. I mean, obviously I have a couple of different subjects, but let's just talk about the games I have been actually playing. I've been playing a lot of all of the above here. Asteroids, Astro Blast, Centipede, Millipede, Frogger, Frog Pond. Both of the haunted houses. I really do enjoy that game. Missile Command, Wizard, Secret Quest. I've been playing that a lot too. Solaris. The Tempest game I've been playing, but Tempest doesn't really transfer to the 2600 very well, but it's still cool as fuck that it's there. Video Pinball. A lot of people may like it. A lot of people may not like it. I enjoy it. I like it. I've been playing both the Yar's Revenge and way out of alphabetical order. I've also been playing the bowling game. And for every game I did go through them all real quickly. But for the ones I've been playing, everything in here functions just fine. The only thing I am noticing, though, with the pause button is you have to be pretty deliberate with it. You can't just kind of haphazardly hit it. You actually have to press it. I mean, you don't have to press and hold or anything, but you really just got to press it and let it know I want to pause. Now, when I went to unpause, I noticed you can't just hit the pause button again. You actually have to hit the action button and be ready to rock and roll. But other than that, those are the games I've been playing, and I really do enjoy them. They play well, they look well, and they sound pretty good. So that's a great intro for the next subject, the sound. I think the sound is fine. A lot of people are saying that it sounds a little deeper or bassier. And I guess that's just, again, the nature of the beast. Little speaker, tiny little compact thing. It's emulation. So sound isn't going to be perfect. And that's just that. I don't really notice too much. It just sounds like a small speaker to me. So all the games do sound. They play. And they look great. So let's talk about the games themselves. Let me take a sip of coffee here. Overall, you get 60 of them. Let me flip this over. There you go. I know you can't read all that, but overall, you have 60 of them, and I think it's a great wide variety. There's a little something for everybody on here. But as far as me personally as the creep, I'm going to nitpick some of the titles here. Some of the games I probably would have omitted was obviously the paddle games like Breakout, Circus Atari, and Pong Sports. Don't get me wrong; those are all classic games, and Super Breakout, and they're very memorable. And of course, you would want those titles on there because people would just be like, "Oh, I remember Breakout." Yeah. But the D-pad being digital, it just doesn't translate well. I know it's been said 100 times, but I would have omitted those or maybe put like a little tiny spinner on the side. I mean, I don't design these things, and it's not my company, so I can't do that. But long story short, I probably would have omitted the paddle games. The Sword Quest games. It is cool that they're on here, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of, I don't know, that's more of a nostalgic thing. Hey, it'd be cool to play the Sword Quest games. Do I think they belong on something like this? No. Because most people, generally, unless you're a collector or a hardcore Atari enthusiast, don't really understand what those were about. And without a full manual, you won't be able to appreciate it. So being on like a little portable thing like this, I think they're kind of obnoxiously there. I understand why they're on there, but those are a couple of games I would have omitted as well. Other than that, I think the selection, again, overall is great. I mean, there's some I won't play, only because I'm not really into playing Hangman. I'm definitely not going to be playing basketball. Oh, the baseball, rather. I do like basketball, and I can't remember if that's on here or not. It's probably not, or I would have been playing it. But there's a lot of games on here I personally won't play, but maybe you liked Blackjack on the Atari 2600, Maybe you liked playing checkers on it, and that's cool. So I get why those are all on there. Some of the games I would have put on there, and I know this is kind of a moot point because you can put the SD card on there, but I just want to say them anyway. Obviously, Pac-Man and E.T., only for one, the nostalgic reasons. Two, just as the goof, because everyone has their negative views on them, though they don't deserve it. I would have put Phoenix and Space Invaders in there. A lot of these flashbacks apparently don't actually have the Atari 2600 version of Space Invaders. They have some other weird version. And I don't get, maybe there's some kind of licensing thing going on, but I would have liked to have seen Space Invaders because that is one of my favorite Atari 2600 games of all time. I think that's a fantastic port. And I know a lot of people like it. I don't think it gets enough love. But that would have been nice to have been on there. And I know this is an Atari product, but I did notice there was some M Network carts on here. It's not all first party. M Network, if you don't know, is Mattel Electronics. They made the Intellivision, but they also made games for the Atari. The games that they have on here, perfect, classic. I think they belong. But Burger Time and most importantly, Lock and Chase would have been a great addition to this. Again, that's just a creep nitpicking. All this could be had on the SD card, so it's kind of a who cares kind of point. But that's where I stand with the selection of games and what I would have changed. Last, I would have put Raiders of the Lost Ark on this thing. If you haven't played Raiders of the Lost Ark, then maybe you don't understand why it probably isn't on here. Raiders of the Lost Ark really utilized the console itself to play. It was fascinating at the time. It was frustrating because I didn't read the manual at first. But once I figured out what was going on, and I'll try not to give away too many secrets, but the main thing I think is the reason why it's not on here is, well, two, licensing and, the name Raiders of the Lost Ark. And two, because there was some switching of the controllers in order to play it properly. And I don't know if they could have augmented this to do that. I don't know. But long story short, Raiders utilized a lot of the buttons on the console, the switches rather. And I think this would have laid out perfectly for that. That would have been an excellent addition. So when I do finally get my SD card thing going, I don't know what games are good and what aren't yet. I haven't really looked into that. Or will work, I should say. That's probably one of the first things I'm going to do. I'm going to see if Raiders of the Lost Ark will work on this thing properly. Because I think utilizing the switches and everything was a fantastic idea for such a simplistic console. And they just did awesome with that one. So Raiders of the Lost Ark is the last game I probably would have put on there. So now let's talk about one of its, I guess, somewhat neater features, hooking it up to an actual television. So let me fire this bad boy up. I already have the cable connected in the back. Again, it's just one of these little deals, and it's just got two RCA cables on the other one, a yellow and a white one. It's mono. And if yours didn't come with one, most of them don't, so don't be all freaked out if yours didn't come with one. But simply, it just plugs into the top of the unit, just like that. It works well. A lot of these sound issues that I had with this thing didn't really translate to the TV. Now, we're not going to play games or anything, but I am going to scroll around and just give you an idea of what it can do. And they give you a pretty good length of cable here. I'm about 2 feet away from the camera, and the camera is about 3.5, 4 feet in front of the TV. So, is it a 6-foot cable, an 8-foot cable? I don't know. But as far as the sounds go, none of that buzzing and crackling translates over. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a really great feature. Now, don't judge the quality of the video by this TV. It's an older, smaller, flat screen, and it's going to have its limitations. And of course, this is only like a little, one of these things. But you know what? It works well, and it does what it needs to do. So I guess that is the last thing I really need to talk about. So while I have it hooked up to the TV, this might be the best way for me to show you how to work the menu. I know this is going a little too in-depth, but fuck it. Like I said, it's my channel. I'll do whatever the fuck I want. This is how you navigate through it, and it can get frustrating at first. In order to go from game to game, you have to go up and down. Okay? Yes, I did turn the sound down for you. Go from screen to screen, you just hit right and left. The only thing that can get confusing is if you're, say, here at Adventure 2 and you want to go to Atari Climber, Instinct will tell you to hit the right, but what that does is it brings you to the next page. It would have been nice if they allowed this to go to here first before climbing to the next page. That's nitpicking a little too far. But aside from that, it works fine. You just, okay, I want to play baseball, which I don't. You hit the menu, you go back to the menu, and that's really cool because when you hit the menu, it doesn't go back to the beginning. It'll go where you left off. But aside from that, that's how you navigate through it. And if you go all the way to the last, you get your SD card browser, and obviously I don't have an SD card in it yet, so it's going to say go to hell. But yeah, that's the menu. That's how it functions, and other than that one little annoying thing, it works great. So finally, after all that, what do I truly think about the Atari Flashback Portable by ATgames? I like it. I guess specifically things I don't like about it, after a sip of coffee, I don't like the lack of quality in the sound. Again, from a small, cheap speaker, what do you expect? $40 console. Um, I just wish there wasn't some that crackled, some that didn't. Again, nitpicking. Two things I personally don't like because of my sausage fingers is the volume here. I mean, if I go sideways, I can get my hands on it. Oh, I just turned it on by accident. Um, it'll work, but it's tough for my fingers to get in there. I think they sunk it in too much, or they didn't have a big enough wheel. And the power switch itself, even though you just saw it do it all by itself, this thing can get a little tough. I mean, my hands just slide over it. I got to actually use a fingernail to turn it on. Again, nitpicking, but again, my review. That's how I feel. Um, Other things I don't like about it. Let's see. We talked about the sound. I talked about these things. That's really all I don't like about it. I mean, other than some of the games that were in there that I felt didn't need to be in there. And that's really my only true complaints about it. Things I do like about it, I think the D-pad and the buttons function very well. They're a little smaller than I anticipated them to be. I honestly thought from pictures that these buttons here were going to be about the size of the NES buttons. This was going to be slightly larger, and that the unit was probably going to be about that big. But the unit itself is a good size. The buttons all function very well. They feel a lot better than I anticipated them to feel. I know you can't see it on my camera, excuse me, but the screen itself is gorgeous. It looks real nice. Uh, it plays well. It's Atari on the go. I mean, what else can you really say? Pause button. Love the pause feature, and it works well. Um, the ability to load more games onto it, so it's expandable. And of course, the price point itself. I think initially it was a little too expensive. I think $50 is a little much for it. 30, 35. I think you can't go wrong there. Lastly, do I feel like all of them should have come with that and the power supply? Yes, I do. I don't understand the deal with my particular one, Sam's Club Super Duper Special Edition. Whatever. Because you bought it at one store, it comes with the cable, or if you bought it another one, it doesn't. Which is ironic because the day I got this, we ended up going to a Target and they had two of them for sale. After me panicking about never being able to find one. And I swear to God, the box was this long, about that tall, and the same thickness. Tiny ass box, perfectly. So maybe they could have been a little more eco-friendly with their packaging because, I mean, think about it. Honestly, do we really need all that space to put two more little items in here? But other than that, again, that's just nitpicking. So I will give this, out of 10 creeps, I'm going to give it an 8.5, if that's even a scale of reference of anything. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I guess in short, after going through all that, I really do like it. I think it's a great little package, fits in your pocket. It's a Atari on the go. The SD slot is a great addition to it. You really can't go wrong. Should you run out and get this thing? I think you can get a decent price. I'd say for under $40, most certainly. Do you like playing Atari games, though? That's the thing. A lot of people, it's a short attention span type thing. So if you really do enjoy playing Atari games, I think this is a perfect little unit. Or if you just want to experiment and either relive it or maybe introduce it to somebody, maybe your children, your nephews, your nieces, what have you, I think it's a great option. I mean, the actual console flashbacks are a great option also, but this one you have the SD slot so you can put more games on it, and you can just plug it directly into the TV with the supplied cable in some cases. That's one thing I wish that they didn't cheap on. I wish they didn't give the cable to some people, not to others, and I don't know. It's stupid to me, but what have you. So guys, thank you so much for watching this if you made it all the way through. I know it was long. I know it was probably long-winded, but that's just how I do. So guys, leave feedback down below. Thumbs up, thumbs down, all feedback's positive. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think about one of these. Do you have one? Do you think you're going to get one now? Or do you just not give two fucks about it? But either way, please leave feedback. Thanks as always for watching. Take care, and bye-bye.